This bill has been passed by the Lok Sabha in the last session with a lot of good faith and a positive energy. And I bring it with the same kind of energy to the Rajya Sabha, and I expect the same kind of support and cooperation from all the members here. And I would like to go a little bit into the brief of the whole Bharatiya Vayuyan Vidheyak, the act that we are bringing, the bill that we are bringing here. And if you look at civil aviation and how it started in India, in 1911, the first India Aircraft Act has been brought in the pre-independence era by the British. And at that time, the whole airspace was being monitored by this Indian Aircraft Act. And in 1919, there was a convention. There was an international convention for regulation of aerial navigation in 1919. And once that convention was done, and it was including 27 countries, including India, at that time, there was a requirement for us to amend our bill a little bit. And once that convention was done in 1919, another act was brought in, which was the Indian Aircraft Act in 1934, which took into account all the discussions that happened during that convention. And after that, in 1944, there was the Chicago Convention. And the Chicago Convention promulgated another body, which was the International Civil Aviation Organization. That became the premier body, which is still existent till now, and it consists of 193 member states. And these 193 member states, they cooperate together and they share their skies to their mutual benefit, promoting sustainable growth and socio-economic prosperity wherever these aircrafts fly. So right now, the International Civil Aviation Organization is the body which kind of suggests all the member countries on how to regulate the airspaces and how to cooperate with each other, how to navigate from one place to another. These are some of the recommendations based on discussion with these 193 countries. They do it. And while these discussions happen and they keep recommending all the 193 member countries, in our country, India, right from 1934 when the act originated, the existing act which originated, it's already been 90 years. In these 90 years, the act has been amended 19 times. 19 new sections came into place and 2 sections were repealed. So a total of 21 times the act has been amended. And while the process of doing all these amendments, whenever an amendment came in, everything was put in bits and pieces into the act. Now what did it lead to? There are a lot of redundancies, a lot of inconsistency, and a lot of disorganization happened within the original act itself. And now the International Civil Aviation Organization, which keeps auditing all the requirements, all the rules, regulations, the acts that any country has, it has recommended to India that why don't you look at your principal legislation once, because there are a lot of activities and a lot of inconsistencies happening. So why don't you come up again so that there is no redundancy happening in the principal act itself, and that becomes the base for us on bringing us this new amendment on new act, which is the Bharatiya Vayuyan Vidheyak. And while we are bringing this act, the purpose what we have done here is we have organized everything. Now under Indian Civil Aviation, we have certain bodies. We have DGCA, which is the Director General for Civil Aviation. We have BCAS, which is the Bureau of Civil Aviation Security. AIB, Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau. And there are central government also which makes its own legislations regarding the civil aviation. So if you look at the new act bill that we have brought in, there are clear sections made for the powers of each of these bodies. So there is a clear demarcation and a clear indication on what each body has to do. And we have entirely organized whatever was there in the earlier act, and we have totally organized it and presented it in a much better manner, which the ICAO also recommended to us in this. And on top of that, as we are talking about civil aviation, I'd like to present the House with some of the statistics also on how the growth has happened in civil aviation in the last 10 years. And if you talk about the civil aviation growth figures, after Narendra Modi ji has become the Prime Minister of this country, and you would have heard him constantly say also, when he talks about the Indian growth, he wants the Indian aviation also to assist the growth of India, this thing. And the number of airports, which is staggering number, 74 airports we had in 2014, and no other country in the world has achieved this kind of success where we have doubled from 74 to the almost 157 airports in the country, sir. This is a huge and staggering number which surprises the best of the countries in the world also. And if you look at the domestic air passenger traffic, what was to be 67 million in 2014, it is 153 million right now, which is more than doubled also. and the number of aircrafts that were there. The fleet size used to be 400 in 2014, and now in 10 years we have made it to 813. This also we have doubled. And there are many other aspects which have doubled, which have improved. I have presented it to you some of the basic stats which give us a look into the industry on how it has improved. But today we are seeing civil aviation as not just the basis of these numbers. We are not saying that when we talk about aviation, it is how many airports we have, how many passengers we are increasing. This we are wanting to deep dive into this aspect. The growth that we have observed is just the tip of the iceberg, and we believe civil aviation has a lot of potential to drive the economy of the whole country. We are looking at the MRO sector. We are looking at how to build our own aircraft here. We are looking at how to skill our own people so that they don't need to go abroad and come back and work in the civil aviation industry here. And we are looking at bringing in more expertise into the industry, let it be in terms of production, let it be in terms of manufacturing. And that is why one of the principal things that we are bringing in this new act is the definition for design, maintenance and manufacture. Sir, in the earlier act, Indian Aircraft Act, only the word maintenance was mentioned. And even that, there was no definition for it. But now we are adding in design and we are adding in manufacture also. And we are thoroughly defining all these three terms which are very important for us, Indian aviation industry, to go forward. And how will these definitions help, sir? The ICAO, when it looks at all these countries on who is going to manufacture airplanes, it looks at how is it being backed up by the legislations in that country. And till now, if we say that we are trying to manufacture our own plane, we don't have any legislation which defines as such that what is the design of an aircraft, what are the airworthiness of an aircraft, what should be the type certification of the aircraft. Is the country ready to do that or not? But now under the leadership of Narendra Modi ji, we are strongly saying that India is at a stage where it can design, manufacture and maintain its own aircraft, and that is the direction in which we want to level up and go forward in the civil aviation industry. And if you look at many more other statistics I have, sir, which shows that there is a huge potential in this country, and right now we are moving forward in that. And as we add these definitions of design, making India as a state of design, making India as a state of manufacture, making India as a state of maintenance, we see that there is a huge potential to create economic activity and especially job creation. Sir, one number, ICAO, which is International Civil Aviation Organization, and many other international bodies, they've all come out with one figure, the multiplier effect. One job that you want to create or in the civil aviation industry, it leads to ultimately creating 6.7 times the number of jobs. So the kind of effect civil aviation has in job creation or economic activity is very, very huge. So we have to tap into this potential, and this new act that we are bringing helps us well into that direction, sir. And other than that, like I've said, we have organized the whole sections in the earlier act itself. So there is a clearer picture. Now if you want to look at what are the actions of DGCA, then we thoroughly know what are the powers of DGCA. And how the powers of central government should be in terms of civil aviation, everything is listed very, very properly. And on top of that, if you look at the consultations, wide number of consultations have happened with the public, with the DGCA, with the AAI, all the important stakeholders, BCAS, all the other ministries that are concerned. After thorough consultations with all these ministries, it is after that, then we have compiled everything, sir. We have taken what the good suggestions are, and we have tried to brought it into the principal act right now. And now, on top of that, I'll talk about some of the important features that we are bringing in with the bill. Now, sir, almost thousands of pilots are getting trained in this country today, and we have spoken to them. We have asked that, do you have any challenges right now in the present scenario? Because we feel, right now I've said there are 800 aircrafts in the country. And sir, you would be surprised the number of aircraft orders we have that are coming in are more than 1,500 right now. And I keep talking to these airlines, and they're every month they keep saying, sir, we have ordered 50 more, we have ordered 100 more, because they see the potential that India has today and how we have to grow forward also. So as we bring in these new planes into the market, we would be needing more pilots also. On some situations, one aircraft would require, with all the FDTL limitations that they have, all the operational requirements they have, they would need up to 20 pilots. So imagine how many pilots our country would be needing as we move forward with all this fleet coming into the country also. And now we thought, let's talk to them. Let us see what their challenges are, how the whole pilot training industry is working today. And one important thing that they've mentioned is that while they go for this CPL, commercial pilot license training and all, one challenge that they face, they have to go through this radiography, the radio telephony certificate, the RTR certificate, which is called technically, this is something which they have to obtain, and flight radio telephony operator license. These are two things that they have to obtain, and for that they have to go to Department of Telecom. This was how it was designed, because they had the equipment, they had the little know-how and technical expertise. So they had divided this stuff. They said, why don't you get this license from Department of Telecom? Once that comes from there, then the DGCA, which is with the civil aviation, then it thoroughly verifies that. And once we do the cross verification and the CPL license also, then we grant the pilot the license. But we have seen that when we do this dual thing of going to that department and obtaining a license and our department doing a certain verification, there was a lot of delay happening. There was a lot of inconvenience for the pilots, and we know sometimes the systems kind of misuse this power when they have the additional authority to come in between, on how it can lead to certain other challenges for the pilots also. And now we have a lot of young population who wants to aspire, dream to become a pilot, and we don't want them to see these kind of challenges happening in the system. So what we have thought is, we have so much expertise right now with DGCA, why don't we do the RTR license and certificates within our system itself? So that is the biggest change we have brought in here, where we are not avoiding the DOT right now, and we have the expertise, and we are bringing everything under our wing, under our civil aviation, under our DGCA, and we are letting the pilots not go through the inconvenient process of going through two different departments for obtaining their pilot license. And other than that, sir, we have brought in the appeal system. Like I've said, we have amended the Act 21 times. And while we have done that, sometimes we have missed putting whatever rules. Sir, civil aviation, the international civil aviation organizations keep recommending us so many things time and again, because it has an international view to this. Sky is not limited to one country. We travel from one country to the other country. So everything has to be harmonized. Let it be if we are flying here in India, if we are flying in New Zealand, if we are flying in America or any other region or any other continent, everything has to be harmonized so that there is a smooth travel between the countries happening. So as and when anything happens anywhere in the world, this ICAO picks it up and it kind of recommends to the all countries that why don't you have a uniform harmonization among the laws in this thing. So it keeps doing it all the time. It meets every year, multiple times on multiple subjects, and once they reach a consensus in Montreal, where the headquarters is there, and it keeps sending the recommendations to all the countries. And as we keep doing it, and it is important for us also to follow the ICAO recommendations. And whenever we keep doing it, not many a times we can bring everything, all the changes to the parliament and say, let us amend the Principal Act itself. So many times what we do, the rules which are framed under the Principal Act, we try to keep changing them. And now constantly after doing that time and again, the ICAO also observed that there is no principal legislation backing to the rules that we have today. So it is very, very important for us to have the principal rules, the backing in the principal legislation itself, so that whenever we make the rules, then when we can say where is the legal sanctity, we can point it out specifically in the Act itself. So that process we have adhered to this time. So whatever rules we are making, we thoroughly understand that the rules are originating from so-and-so clause or so-and-so section in the Principal Act itself. And some problems that we have faced earlier was, there was no appeal system also. Whenever the civil aviation, the central government or one of our bodies does any of these administrative orders or actions that are taken by the department itself, it doesn't have the principal backing. We are doing it by rules, which is not legally correct also. So right now we have put an appeal system which follows the principle of natural justice in the Act itself. So that is a strong legal backing that we are giving. And now anyone who faces any administrative order or any other financial economic order that comes from the ministry itself, he can go through the process of appealing. Why did it come against me? So the principle of natural justice is being followed here, sir. And on top of that, there are some other provisions also in the appeal system, and also there was, when we are trying to have any problem with the pilot or the license, earlier the system was only you can cancel the license. But now we observe not every time you can cancel the license. Sometimes you might need to restrict it. Sometimes you might want to cancel it. So these kind of systems, what we observed, small flaws that were existing in the industry, we tried to pick them up and include it in the Act itself. And these are some of the changes that we brought in and I'm willing to listen to, I'll talk about the other issues once I get all the suggestions and comments from the honorable members, sir, and I'm willing to answer to each and every clarification that I need to give from this, but I request this support and also the cooperation of all the members here. This is a very important legislation that we are doing because we realize that civil aviation, which is the third biggest domestic sector in the whole world, sir, considering the population, US maybe it's around 35 crores today, and it is the #1 domestic market. And look at our population. And we want more people to travel through air here, which is becoming a reality also under the leadership of Narendra Modi ji. He has brought in the Udan scheme, and everyone should know about this Udan scheme. You would all wonder that we have created, see, creating airports is one challenge. You can spend the capex and you can create an airport. But today with the private airlines, for them to run those routes, it's another bigger challenge. But our Prime Minister, he is a man with a vision and it's a man on a mission, sir. And he has launched in 2017 the Udan scheme, Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagrik, which was very, very specific to connect these underserved and unserved airports of the country. He didn't want them to lie vacant or lie dormant. He thought of a brilliant scheme where we were giving a small VGF funding, and we called in the airlines. We said, these are the real India that we want to connect. And wherever these airports were there, the new airports which were built in many of the unconnected areas, which were unconnected through air travel, where we have built them, we have said, through Udan, why don't you start the routes? And today, a staggering number of 602 routes have been started by Udan, which is a record in itself, sir, in the last 7 years. And we want to push it more also. We want to create more airports, and we want to use the Udan also, so even more. And I can proudly say today, I was a member of parliament for the last 10 years. And initially, as I started as a member, sir, the most important request I would get from my constituents was that how do I get a new railway stop? I believe it is there today also. But I see as a minister today, in 5 months, I'm getting requests from across the table, across the house, both in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. People are coming that I want more air connectivity. Why don't you connect me from point A to point B? Why don't I get an airport? These are remote places, sir, where people would have not even dreamt of having an airport. But today, our India, my India, has become so aspirational that even the remotest past, they are saying that I'm not going to strive for anything less. I think he has also requested there, sir, our honorable member. They are all requesting that why don't I have an airport in my own district itself? I feel proud of that. Today, the India has become so aspirational that everyone is dreaming and aspiring to have their own airport, and we want to cater to those dreams. We want to build those airports because we feel if we can't do it today, it will become a challenge tomorrow. Tomorrow, the land is going to be a scarcity. Everyone wants to have land and nobody is parting away with their land also. And tomorrow, it might get even more difficult. For one airport to build, if we want to cater for big, wider aircrafts, we need at least 1,000 acres, sir. And now, today, if we don't start, that is why it is very important to build this infrastructure now. And our Honorable Prime Minister has taken it at the right time, and we have made consistent progress, but we believe that there is a lot more to achieve for us in civil aviation, and with the help of this act, we are going to move into that direction, and we collectively will achieve what I'm saying today, that we will be the #1 domestic civil aviation market in the whole world, and that we are going to achieve. With these comments, I would like to open the bill for discussion.
Thank you.